Jinx. Yo, Mia LaCroix.
Oh.
Hello, I'm Chidera.
Hello, I'm Chantalee.
Hi, I'm Riley.
Hello, it's Chidera, and welcome back to I Can Relate, a podcast for teens, about teens, and by teens. I'm here with Chantalee and Riley. Chantalee is new to this season 2, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Chantalee. I'm really excited to be here with you guys.
Wonderful. Hello, Riley. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to be back.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about social media. And really just the real us. So Riley, do you want to start things off with the first time you got social media and what was the app that you used?
It's very hard because what defines social media is my first question.
That's a good question. What does define social media to you? Or how would you define it?
Because if we're getting specific, I would say Pinterest was my first social media, but I had 0 followers, 0 friends or whatever. I just iFunny. That was it. But later, I guess, 7th grade, I got Instagram for the first time. And Musical.ly.
Musical.ly's a good one.
Rest in peace. But, yeah, I think that would probably be it.
Yeah, me too. I got Instagram. I think that was my first social media app from what I can remember. I think I also got Facebook when I was 7 for 2 seconds and then deactivated the account when I was really young for some reason. Well, what about you, Chantalee?
I think my first social media was, I want to say Instagram. No, false. It was Snapchat. Yes.
That had to be my second or third, but I never posted on there because I never know what to put on my story.
Yes.
It's weird. But I don't know. That's super cool that we all have that same interest of Instagram. How'd you guys first start using it? What'd you guys start to post when you first got the app?
Ooh, I was really cheesy.
I think we all were.
Yeah. I was in a stage of my life, I was starting middle school, and I wasn't myself. I wasn't being my true self. I was trying to impress, everyone else. So I remember making collages of my friends.
Aww, that's
and
cute.
Putting and posting it, or I would take their photos and pick a song that reminded me of it. And then I would make I don't remember the name of the app, but you can put a bunch of pictures and put the
Flipagram.
And I made one, and the song it was really cute. I don't remember the name of the song, but it was this song reminds me of you guys, and I remember posting that stuff on Instagram. Yes.
That is adorable, honestly. I think the first time I started using Instagram, I just posted random stuff from what I can remember. But did you guys ever, I don't know, start to take Instagram serious to a certain extent? Because you said how you were trying to impress everyone. So was there a certain moment where you felt oh, I have to portray myself in some sort of way to sort of get that acceptance?
I don't think so. I think after I started doing that, then I reached a point where I was just these are people I shouldn't even be trying to impress. Obviously, they're not good for me. I'm not good for them. They're not interested in being friends. So I eventually just deleted it, and for a while I didn't have anything posted on my Instagram just because I didn't know what to post, and I thought nobody was interested in it. So yeah, there was a point I was just just forget it, be myself, just stop trying to do it.
Have you ever reached that point, Riley?
Yes and no. My first Instagram account, I was a 7th grader, so it didn't really hit me this was a social media website. You got to be careful what you share, whatnot. I mean, not that I'd share anything inappropriate. I think cringy now. I can't even deactivate the account. I had a Snapchat filter of me with the corn on the cob thing, Happy Thanksgiving or whatever. But I think there was a certain point I had to figure out what it meant to have a follower on Instagram and a friend.
Interesting. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I had some rough middle school experiences, and so having those people follow me on Instagram had pressure on me, what I gotta share, what should I wear. That rhymed. I didn't mean to do that.
You're rapping here.
It wouldn't be a fun rap, but yeah, there was just a lot of expectations and pressure, and it was really damaging for my mental health, I felt like.
Absolutely.
And so I actually got rid of that account and didn't come back into Instagram until last year. And
really?
it was really good for my mental health to do that. And now coming back to Instagram, I'm more cautious. And even like this summer, I'm going to go through, get rid of some people that I'm like, I don't really need them in my Instagram, nor do I feel like I need to share my lives with them. So
that's
like a good cleansing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best thing.
Like
ever.
juice cleanse, but social media kind of.
absolute. I love that. That's amazing. So you haven't been on Instagram for like you're a sophomore now. No, you're a junior. So
I
it's
am a
been
junior.
4 years.
Yes, it was
That is very interesting.
going into my sophomore year, I think, was when I got it back. So like last August, or no, 2 Augusts ago. So
Wow. Okay, and you know what's interesting? We've had social media in our lives since a very young age when we were all first hitting puberty, and I think that definitely played a role in the way that we perceived ourselves, because even you, Chantal, you're saying that you felt to a certain extent that you had to almost put on a show and like just have that reassurance that these are my people. Same with you, Riley, with your followers versus friend. And I can relate in the same way, in a sense that I got Instagram probably in 6th grade. And, you know, whenever you're first being introduced to this huge pool of different people, because, you know, you're just around your family so many times, but then having an app that introduces you to so many different people, so many different things, and, you know, you're looking at all these people and you're like, where do I fit in this line of standards, from these supermodels to just the regular everyday girl as a 6th grader, as a 10-year-old, you know, what am I going to look like when I grow up? Am I going to look like this woman? Or, you know, and it just plays such a big role in the way we perceive ourselves, I would say. I'm going to say, like, I think it was 6th grade. You know, like, they used to do, like, TBHs and stuff all the time. When you first got Instagram. And they used to do, like, rates and stuff. Oh, like this for a rate. I don't even think I liked someone's post on purpose, but they gave me a rate and they said a rate of 6. And I'm like, I don't see it. But no, at the time, you know, I was like, 12 years old. And I would say definitely when I first got Instagram, it made me insecure in a sense, because it's like, it changed the way I perceived myself in a sense, because I felt like so much more judgmental. So just seeing that at such a young age, it's like, dang, like, am I not pretty because of, and is it this app that's making me like change the way I see myself almost, or is it just, you know, and I don't know, I feel like we have so much pressure, especially our young kids who are first going through puberty and first understanding the concept of self, how social media is just so, it's such a big influence on the way you perceive yourself, I would say. Have you guys seen the documentary with Paris Hilton? And she, it's on YouTube. It kind of talks about her, like, she goes through this camp, and when she's younger, she gets in a lot of trouble. It's this whole thing. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
Okay, well, she was talking in her room, and she was just saying how, you know, social media, she was a big influence in social media in the 2000s. And she can't even imagine now with, like, 3rd graders having access to all these filters on Snapchat and stuff, and people are getting Botox to look like their Snapchat filters. And what do you guys think about that? Do you think that it really has an influence on the way that you perceive yourself?
I think it truly does, because someone could say, like, oh, their body is so perfect, I want to look like them. And in reality, it's like, you know, be happy with who you are, because then they'll go out and try to get all these surgeries and spend all this money just to, like, receive the look that they are admiring on someone else. And if they're not happy with it, they're just going to continue to try to find ways to, you know, fit that look, and it could be dangerous eventually, instead of them trying to find, like, that happiness within themselves. So there's definitely pressure out there.
I think people forget, too, that when we get social media at like 12, 13, 14, whenever, is that you're still growing into your body. And so
Absolutely.
To think that you could have the perfect body at 14, it's so unrealistic.
I know.
And just like, especially in the summer, when everybody posts those bikini pictures.
Yeah.
You get I don't know about you guys, but I get super self-conscious, like, well, I don't like my stomach a whole lot. I wear crop tops, but I always, like, pull it down or, like, do that. And then the expectation to have the bikini summer body or whatever, especially with quarantine. Oof.
Yeah, let's talk about quarantine. No, honestly, I think that's really interesting. And even Like, considering social media, when we think about, like, the public me versus the real me, do you think there's a difference between the two for you guys? Or for anyone in general, do you think that's a difference that we see within people?
Most definitely. It's kind of rare to find someone that you like on social media that you want to follow that's genuinely real, and you can tell if they're real like in person and on what they put on social media. And it's you kind of most commonly run across people that like put on a persona that try to be perfect, and when you meet them in real life, they're like the complete opposite. Like they're not happy at all, or they're just rude, and on social media they're always happy and good personality. But when you do run across those rare gems, it's like, yes, like this is the energy I want to see on my timeline.
It's so amazing when you get that real authenticity.
Yes.
Like you are exactly who you say you are.
Yes, I can, because like I don't know about you guys, but now I can kind of get a sense if someone's not being real, and
because that means you're real. I think you're real and authentic, so you can understand or feel whenever someone else is like that.
Thank you. Yeah. So it just I can feel it. I'm like, you're not being your true self. Like if someone is happy 24/7, of course, a lot of people don't want to post like when they're crying and everything, which I understand. But like I said, you can just sense it. Like you're not. This isn't really you. Like you're trying to. Like you fit into a bubble or something.
Right. You have some people who have such loud mouths on social media, but when it comes down to even sitting, having a genuine conversation, you can't even look me in the eye. But for some reason, you are so quick to be loud on social media. And I feel like in that sense, it's kind of an outlet for people who feel like they don't have a voice. They can use that and project their opinions. But also it can be damaging because some people, there's no real limit to that. Like TikTok, for example, when we see so many people who are going out and doing these things, trying to do so much on social media to have some sort of platform, to have some sort of platform where they can say, this is who I am, this is me, but they're almost taking it too far to keep up with some sort of persona, and we see that so much today. Have you guys seen any like super crazy TikToks that you're just like...
Yes, most definitely. Someone licking ice cream in a store and then putting it back.
I remember that.
People repeating the same action, like it's actually acceptable and okay when it's not at all. Like you don't want to be known for that. Exactly.
The most prevalent example I can think of was I was in 4th grade at the time, so everybody's stupid in 4th grade. Everyone's all that in a bag of chips, whatever. But in 4th grade, there was a trend in my school. They called it the Set Yourself on Fire Challenge, where you would get in a shower, light yourself on fire, and then you'd come back to school with like 1st, 2nd, or 3rd degree burns.
What?
And then people would give you money if you went to the hospital. Or it was just like a thing in my school. I never did it.
4th grade?
4th grade, yeah.
Wow.
You
guys are some fire 4th graders, huh?
We were all pyromaniacs. But I just took that with me, like, why are you doing that? What do you benefit from that except maybe a few dollars, which if you're that in need of money, hit me up.
I mean, what are you going to do with money as a 4th grader, honestly, besides buy candy? Like, I'm confused. But that's super interesting. Like, that goes back to the whole thing of public me versus real me. Because I remember seeing another TikTok. It just becomes so toxic. And, like, for some people where they can't differentiate the person they want to be on social media from the person they want to be when they're standing in front of a significant other or any other person talking. And I remember seeing a TikTok of this girl. She's using like traumatic moments in her life and just putting it out there on social media. And I get that if that's something you're comfortable with. But I don't know about you guys. I get so uncomfortable when people try to use their tragedies as some sort of like funny platform. She like said, thinking about the time my ex-boyfriend raped me and did all this stuff last year, and she's like dancing to some funny music in the background. But I know you're actually hurting on the inside. Like you don't need to go so far to put yourself out there to get some sort of fulfillment for like filling up an empty void, in a sense, for me.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people use social media to fill an empty void. How you were talking about Chantelay, you see some people who are crying on Snapchat. We see that a lot today where people use social media as some sort of diary. Do you guys see like people on Snapchat post like a lot of like personal stuff sometimes, and you're just like...
I don't want to name drop or anything. I have a person that I know that 15 just got out of a year-long relationship for like a freshman in high school, so you know how that is. They're one of those people that will always put 11:11 or my girls, my bae. And they just recently broke up with their bae. And so they posted on their Snapchat story, like, gonna light all his stuff on fire.
Wow.
And it was crazy because then later she posted him responding, being like, I want my stuff back. Please don't light it on fire. And she still did it.
It's crazy what social media does. And
I really had to question, like, why do you feel the need to, one, share that, to do that?
okay, what do you guys share on your social media?
If I'm out with my friends, just having a good time, I post that. But if, like, I'm going through, like, I keep personal stuff personal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to put it on social media because it's not everyone's business, you know? You just tell who you want to tell.
Yeah.
And so I, like, when I'm hanging out with my friends, or, you know, if there's, like, a good song I want to share with everybody, just, you know, stuff like that. But I don't share deep personal stuff if I don't want the whole world to know it, because everyone can screenshot, and next thing you know, it's like blowing up on Twitter. You're like, I did not consent to that. But then again, it's like, I put that on there. Yeah.
As soon as you hit share, it's not up to you. It's up to everyone else, which is the really scary thing.
There are no limits.
No. Yes. And I mean, even with Snapchat, it'll tell you if you screenshot or whatever.
You know, there's always, like, things to work around that, too.
Like, you can turn airplane mode on, and then no one can see what you do or whatever. But I personally have not really shared anything on my social media recently, and it's just because I've been going through some, like, just busy end of the year stuff, like mental health break, whatever it is.
Especially during the month of May, it's always
definitely
for students.
But it's also been really nice just because I don't post all the time, and it's not like fancy or anything. I'll be like, here's my dog. Your feed's been blessed. You're welcome. Or hang out with Chantalee a lot, so I'll post pictures of us hanging out or whatever. But yeah, I think we had a conversation one time. I was going through not a great season, and I didn't share anything like...
I love how you described it as that season. I described something as like different
everybody
periods.
goes through seasons. It's not permanent, and even things that are permanent, it's something just to overcome, not carry as like a burden. It's just a part of you, who you are. That's my philosophy.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think what really stuck with me in that conversation is that on social media, or just in general in life, the people who you think are like the happiest probably cry the hardest and deal with the most emotional stuff because they're just putting on that for them. So even like outside of social media, who you are, you don't really know unless someone opens up, which is really crazy. And so I feel like sometimes social media is that outlet to be like, this is how I feel, this is what I'm doing.
Like when we think about celebrities in our day and age, like what Miley Cyrus, even Addison Rae, you see all these people who, or even Charli D'Amelio, you know, we see how they get bullied so much when these were people who were just normal people and just happened to, not Miley Cyrus, but like Addison Rae and Charli D'Amelio, just randomly, you know, get famous from TikTok, and they have all this pressure to constantly post, constantly do this and be some sort of person. But you see them in other videos where they're crying so hard because of how mean people are being to them. And you see how that affects them so much by people's words and how other people are commenting on their posts. And I don't know, I think that's so interesting how you would think that the happiest people, even Miley Cyrus, you know, we saw her at one point. I remember seeing her, I don't know what grade I was in, but like she was singing the song like I Can't Be Tamed, I think.
Oh. Yes.
And then like 2 seconds later we're seeing her like singing We Can't Stop, and you just see that huge shift from where did it go from here? What was this from your platform, or was this like something internal, you know? And we just see so many people who have that facade, that two-faced of I'm so happy, when in reality it's like, no, I'm really not. I just want to feel something.
Exactly.
I think too the biggest struggle, like we talked about, was probably empathy, but also vulnerability, because think about how hard it could be for someone to even just sit here and talk like, hey, this is how I feel about social media. This is what I do on social media. Because not everyone's the most responsible on social media.
Right. And I would never name any names, but just thinking about certain people in certain situations, there's people who that go to my school who may have more responsibility than others in terms of not even necessarily my school, but people that I know in general who have to take on a lot of responsibility in terms of their personal life, but then we'll try to use social media as a outlet to release all of that toxic energy. When do we draw the line? What should we be posting and what should we not be posting, do you guys think? Or is there a limit? Should there
sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you. I know everyone is different. Like, their boundary line is different for everyone. But I think, like, deep personal family matters, that should not be posted on social media. Like I said, to each its own. But I feel like there's definitely that boundary where not everyone, like, if you're a well-known social media star, like, your followers might want to see everything. And, like, that's okay. But say if it's, like, a funeral and you post about that, teens are techie now. They know they can find location, and the last thing you want is for them to show up at that specific location.
I have two things to say to that. First, that's interesting that you say that, because also when I'm thinking about Facebook, I used to really not use Facebook at all, but just recently I got it. And I started on my phone and I started using it a little bit more, and you see like so many parents and older people who actually post a lot more personal information. So that's interesting to me. But I think it's also the context in which you post it, because if you're at a funeral but you're like taking a selfie with a casket, like, funeral, that's kind of weird. But if you are making it like you are
like a memorial post or whatever,
yes, like on Facebook or something, that's understandable. But also I'm thinking about Bretman Rock.
Yes.
How he had a funeral for his dad and posted something, and then fans started showing up. He's a social media influencer. I mean, he showed up, or other fans started showing up to his dad's funeral, and it's like, that is crossing the line.
Yeah.
So it's like, can he not post personal things that matter to him because of the way other people will act?
Right.
Is that what we have to deal with today now?
And, like, people were taking photos of, like, the casket and trying to snap a photo of Brentman when it's like, it's supposed to be peaceful.
And it's sad, because I feel like the way we can use social media definitely is different from celebrities too, because they definitely have, when we think about public me versus real me, there definitely has to be a difference within them. When we think about, I don't even know, I always think about like Justin Bieber, for instance. You see him when he was 16 years old to now, how much the fame, the need to be some sort of something, because when we think about social media, like, that's a platform, but it almost in a sense creates who you are for other people, your peers around you that you wouldn't necessarily talk to straight away if you were in person, but because you have this app, you're connected to so many people. Like, I know a good majority of people that I've met through social media. I don't know about for you guys. So I think it kind of creates who we are to a certain extent, but we kind of get to choose how we want to be perceived by what we post. What do you think?
Most definitely, like, I know certain accounts, like, draw certain people that, like, might have the same interest or might bond over the same things. And, like, with me, there's a UK band named Little Mix, and so I really like their music, and so I was able to form friendships with others that enjoy their music, and it, like you said, like, it draws certain people, like your feed, and I guess like the energy or atmosphere that you give off really can attract a certain audience.
I think it's interesting you say that too, because something that kind of bugs me a lot about social media is the suggested for you on like Instagram or whatever, because there's the algorithms like, oh, you follow this person, so you should follow this person, but you don't know that person. It's like a mutual friend.
Yes.
But the idea that an app can compile your personality or who you are friends with on social media and suggest other people, and that's how other people find you. I think
kind of weird.
It's like Tinder, but not Tinder.
There's no swiping right here.
Or they have suggested for you to follow, and it's really scary, like how Riley said, like how accurate it can be. I'm like, how do you know that I know this person in a different state?
Right.
It's kind
of
scary.
Weird. You have people who, like, there's this girl I follow that's literally in Indiana, but like, I would never know her, but now I like know her. So I just think that's interesting. So when considering social media, what do you guys think are the cons and the pros? Because, you know, we are able to be connected to so many different people in a way, but also at the same time is almost toxic because we are having to keep up with this thing. I know, because we've all taken breaks. Is that correct? Chantalee and Riley, you both stated that you have taken breaks from social media, and I have too. So what do you think the cons and the pros are when you had social media versus when you did not?
Pros when I had social media, definitely being able to keep up with friends. I used to live in Washington, so being able to keep up with them and seeing that they're doing good and being able to message them and stay in contact, and also just, you know, keeping up with my favorite celebrities, with new music drops, or if they have anything exciting coming out. That was the pros. But the cons of social media, always worried about other people's opinions. Like if you're a common poster, then, you know, some people often check their comments to make sure, like, to see if, like, what everyone's saying. And there can be like 1,000 nice comments and then that one bad comment that can affect you. And it's pretty big how like much that can affect you, and it's really scary.
It is. Do you guys think that you went through a phase when you first kind of got Instagram or whatever, where you're looking at like who's watching you, who's liking your post, who's seeing this? And it's like, for me now, comparing it from then to now, it's like I could not care less who's watching me, because I'm like literally watching myself. I don't have time to even consider another person's opinion. But I feel like growing up with social media, it's like I need to consider this person's opinion. I need to take every single comment into account, because it's almost like you're shaping the way that you're going to see yourself in terms of what other people are saying. And we always want that gratitude from someone else, like, oh, you look pretty on this selfie and stuff like that. But it's like, can we just think that we're pretty without someone having to comment that, you know?
Right. I had to make a rule for myself when I got Instagram again, is I'm not allowed to check to see who views my story and who likes my post. And that in itself has been such a huge like mental health break, because it's like, it's also funny too, because someone will be like, you like that, and I was like, I did what? And then they're like, it's just so freeing to be like, I share what I want to share because I'm excited about this, or this is what I'm passionate about, and not for others. It's for me. It's my platform. It's my opinion. And I think sometimes it's so easy to get lost in that, which is probably the biggest con, because even when you're like scrolling through those explore page and everyone's like fake staged or whatever for like something someone shared, it's just so crazy, like the amount of hate people have on social media, because they can use the screen as like fade out. I don't know if that's the correct word for it, but
I know what you mean. Do you guys know people who genuinely care so much about their likes, or have known people who like care so much about Instagram that it's like, I want to have this amount of likes? I feel like that's just something in our generation today, where we see people, I feel like even at my school there's people who probably care about how many likes they're getting on Instagram, and like using that as a thermometer to check their temperature on,
like the follower count,
their scale of like seeing, I don't know.
Sorry, were you gonna say something? Okay. No. It's interesting you say that, because one of the reasons I took a break for the first time from social media is I felt like I was becoming that person, and I didn't like what I was seeing in the mirror, and it wasn't like it was really hard for me to look at myself and be like, there's no filter here, what is this? And to be so consumed with myself, it's just so wearing. And so coming back to social media, I've tried so hard to just present myself as I am and not fake. I don't really use a whole lot of filters, or like,
she's authentic.
Yeah, it's also not easy, because then you get super nervous about what you share, and it's like, no,
because putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, like taking a selfie and literally posting on Snapchat, that's you being vulnerable, I think, because it's like you think that you look good right now, but then you're like putting yourself out there for a whole bunch of people to see, and like that's kind of vulnerable, because, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, am I a 6 out of 10? But then literally I shut that down so quick, and I'm like, no.
You're
but
queen.
I don't. Thank you. I don't think like that anymore. But I know there was a certain point in my life where I'm like, am I good enough? Am I this? Am I that? Am I that? And it's like, enough is enough. So I think that's super interesting that you taken a break, that we've all taken a break. I'll kind of talk about my background. Also, Riley, a person that used to work with us at Chick-fil-A, I know that they actually no longer have social media anymore because they talked about how it led to comparison and so many things for them. And I was just like, social media, it really, when we see like there's multiple people that we know who have taken breaks because it has become such a toxic environment. And I know for myself, it was a junior year. I've taken about like 3 or 4 breaks, about a month each. And I know, especially over quarantine, the first month I didn't have Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram. And I think that the first time I did it, this was like halfway through junior year. I was so focused on school and so focused on like just getting stuff done and doing other things. And the second time, it just really just set into perspective. Like, sometimes I really consider every single day just deleting all my apps because I feel so much more, like, free in a sense that I'm just being held to keeping up with something. Even though, like, for me, I have a Instagram where I post, like, fitness stuff and what I eat in a day. And, like, that's something I enjoy doing. But it also becomes this environment where it's like, can I just enjoy it without having to share?
Yeah.
Can it just be something that I can live in the now? I feel like social media makes us not be able to live in the now because we are trying to take a picture, do this, and then have it for later. I remember in middle school, sorry, I'm going all over the place,
okay.
But in middle school, they had to ban us from taking pictures after school because every single day for months on end, kids would just stay after school and take pictures to post on Instagram. And it would be like just your feed of like all these different middle schoolers taking pictures. And I'm like, that's just so crazy to me. That's just become such a big thing that we are having to use every day.
Right. And me and Riley have a mutual friend named Chelsea, and she has a tattoo on her knuckle that says "Be here," and it kind of reminds her to stay present. And I actually carry that with me, like when I'm with Riley or when I'm hanging out with my girls. Then I, in my head, I'm like, you don't need to pull out your phone. It's actually the memories that I like remember the most.
Yes.
Then. I don't have my phone. And it's really crazy, like, when I sit back and think about it, I'm like, I wasn't on my phone at that time. And that memory is really strong, and it's one of the best memories. And it shows a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It does.
It's also, like, a very pro-con type thing because some of those memories, you're like, oh, I wish I could remember that certain thing a little better.
Yeah, because everyone's like, pictures or it didn't happen.
Yeah. My favorite memory from last summer is we were hanging out with a bunch of our mutual friends at my pool. And we didn't take any videos or pictures of anything until like right before we were leaving. So it's just like a big group picture of all of us laughing and smiling. I have it framed with all my family pictures and stuff. And it's just so special to me because it was a moment where we could like take everything aside and just laugh about the summer and the year. And
yes. I think taking a break from social media just makes you so much happier. Honestly, I feel like it would be for anyone. Even if you don't even use it that much, it just makes you be so much present in like everything you're doing instead of scrolling through Facebook while you're eating breakfast. You're just enjoying your bagel. You're just literally being there and being able to just breathe when you wake up in the morning. So social media shouldn't be this big thing. I feel like it should just be it should be so fluid. Like, I took this picture and I like it, I posted it. I'm not even considering what you're having to say about it, but I liked it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I kind of do a thing where I'm in the mindset now where I'm like, if you like what I post, then you like what I post. If you don't like it, the unfollow button is literally right there.
Absolutely.
And I've learned, like, during quarantine, the first 2 hours when I wake up, I don't check social media. It's so freeing because when you first check it when you wake up, what are you going to do? You're going to compare yourself to those people. But you shouldn't want to start your morning off like that. You should want to start your morning off being you and being free, and it's really relaxing.
Absolutely. That's interesting that you say that. Okay, so I just feel like this topic is so important because social media is so prevalent in our generation, Generation Z. We've had it since before we can remember, honestly.
Yeah.
We've always had this little app, this little thing that connects us to virtually anyone around us. And I think that we need to be the ones to say how this is going to be used, how we will utilize social media, because there are so many benefits when we think about, us sharing this podcast. We are able to have so many more listeners, start so many more conversations by or through social media when we share this, but it also can become such a toxic environment of comparison of, and that's the thief of joys, and we're constantly seeing that. And with social media, because there are no limits, your comparison is endless. So I think that we have to be the ones to say, this is what I'm going to use social media for. This is what it's going to be for me. Whenever I post something, I'm like, is that what I represent? Is that something that it's true to me? Is that something that I would be okay with my children seeing? Because, social media is here to stay. So we have to get a hold of her before she runs wild, I think. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree with you on that, like, spreading awareness on certain topics that are going on in the world. Like, definitely, like, wanting your social media to reflect what you like, what you want to bring awareness to, your opinions and everything. Just, like, really being honest with yourself and with everyone that is, like, quote unquote watching you, I guess.
Yes.
I think that it's important to remind yourself that whenever you get a notification or whatever, you're not tied to it. It's not your personality. And some people really tone in on that. Like, my life is my phone. My life is my social media.
Right.
And just, I don't even know how to phrase this without being very rude.
Say it.
Oof. See, there's that fear of people are going to hear me. And so it's things you don't even think about just self-consciously like that.
Yes.
And
it's hard because there's two different perspectives of social media where it's like you are the poster, but also you are the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So with today's age, we see so many different posts of like Black Lives Matter and so many different other organizations who are promoting these good things, and we're able to share. But in the same sense, it's like you're absorbing all of this information, but what are you doing with it in a sense? Because yes, you can still go out there, post something on your Instagram story, but I love what we're doing here where we're having true, authentic conversations about it, and not only being able to exchange different opinions with ourselves, but be able to reach other people. And I feel like we need to kind of just draw the line in a sense of what social media is going to represent for all of us.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
it's just a login, and people forget that because they just spend the time, especially for me in quarantine. I really had to be like, nope, I need to take a step back. I need to stop sharing as much. You can't win in social media. You either post something and you get a reaction, or you don't post something and you get a reaction. So
exactly,
taking that to yourself all the time is just not healthy.
100%. And you see so many people who have FOMO, or like, oh, I'm going to miss something if I'm not on Twitter and all this. But why are you going to Twitter to get information on COVID-19? You see people who go to the wrong news sources, the wrong things to get their media, when it should be like, oh, we saw that with COVID-19, where people are going to, I wrote a whole English paper on this actually, about how people are going to the wrong individuals for their news. Social media, you should be there to exchange socially via the media. Not going there to figure out why you're wearing a mask. Go and talk, go watch the news, go do something else, It shouldn't be, yes, we're learning about so many different things, problems that are going around the world, but I feel like in order to get the truth, it shouldn't necessarily be Twitter, and I mean, that's good that you're getting it from there. Go and do some more in-depth research about the topic, not necessarily you're reading one thing and it becomes consuming your entire life.
Right. Such a scary example of that is that tornado warning we had a few months ago. I was actually at work, and none of us knew what to do in a tornado, so we all went to the bathroom, and because none of us had, weather apps, we were using Twitter for updates on the tornado warning, and, when they're like, well, it's done, so we left based on a Twitter update. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the best example.
I mean, that's life or death, honestly.
Yeah. But the exposure you get through social media can be helpful, in that situation. Otherwise, I would have been stuck in that bathroom for several hours. Or you get exposed to different cultures or, personalities, which is really good, too. Because if you stay in a tight-knit box or whatever, you're not exposing yourself to the world and not getting what you need. But also at the same time, it's you need to figure it out for yourself, by yourself, and not use people's opinions or thoughts or posts to get there.
Right. So it's where do we go from here as Generation Z, the individuals who will be able to write the blueprint for the next generations of internet users, of social media users, how do we make sure that the next generation, even our generation, is utilizing social media appropriately? What can we do? Or is there anything we can do? Is there a way that we can come to a consensus on, like, this is what social media should represent for us as a collective generation? Or do you guys have any tips on how people who are struggling with comparison on social media, what they can do?
With struggling with comparison on social media, I would definitely, if they have people that they're close to, like, or someone that is close to that individual, initiates that conversation with them and just talks to them and, like, asks them, why are you comparing yourself? Why do you feel the need to do this? How does this make you feel? How can I help you? I think that can also help the individual, and they'll be really appreciative in the long run. But I think just having those conversations with people, not being afraid to say, like, I see this behavior from you and I want to help, because in the end it's not really healthy for you. Just being that person that they can go to and just that they know that cares about them and their mental.
So opening up to someone is crucial. Being able to be vulnerable, not only via your phone, but also vocally. Having that one trusted person that you can talk to, whether it's a trusted adult or friend, that you both kind of go through the same thing, if not even the same thing, just having someone to talk to. And another thing I think is taking a break. I mean, we have all taken a break for a reason. It's because it has gotten to a point where it's been toxic, where we are no longer enjoying ourselves on this app, where it's constantly negativity. You know, enough is enough. I know for me, once I returned back to social media after taking a break, it changed the way I use the apps, because I'm no longer going here in the morning and looking and consuming all these celebrities and what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. No, it's more of, okay, say for my fitness app, okay, I want to post this workout thing, or, you know, I just went to brunch with my sister and she took a picture of me, I'm going to post it. It's not my business. I mean, I want my fitness page to be a business, but, you know, when I'm thinking of, like, actual Instagram, my sister always says, like, don't pay the business that doesn't pay you, in a sense. I think that's the wording. And it's like, you don't need to put so much into your Instagram when at the end of the day, it's just for you to express yourself. And that should be fluid.
I think, too, just remembering to self-reflect is something we forget about all the time, but it could just be as simple as, like, maybe you don't need to take a break, which, great for you, man. Power to you.
Yes.
But go through and see who you follow, because even who you follow makes a huge difference. If you're following influencers or, like, models, it changes your perspective on what you think compared to just, like, what your friends or good people who will support you. I mean, it's okay to follow celebrities and stuff, but just make sure you're not consumed by that. And to remember that it's okay if you need a break. It's nothing to be ashamed about. Your mental health is important, and taking that as a priority. If social media is a cause of that, it's not always the answer, but just taking a step back and looking at it and, like, thinking about, are you thinking about this all the time? Is your personality starting to revolve around this? Just take a step back and reflect, which is really hard to do, and I am such a hypocrite sometimes.
It's vital.
It is vital.
It is vital. As I can't think of the name. Oh, Socrates said, an unexamined life is unworthy of living. And I think that's exactly what this
beautiful.
Conversation. Yes. So this was an amazing conversation. I think we hit a lot of key points about having someone to talk to, be vulnerable with, step back if you need to, and also reevaluate the way that you are utilizing social media. So thank you, Chantalee, for joining us today. I'm so excited for us to have a new crew member on this season, and Riley, another returning I Can Relate member. But yes, guys, so thank you so much for listening to I Can Relate. It's Dara,
Chantalee,
and Riley.
See ya. The I Can Relate podcast is made possible by a private donation and the generosity of Lee Summit Cares. Lee Summit Cares is a nonprofit coalition that seeks to mobilize community partners to develop a culture of physical and mental wellness for Lee Summit youth and families that inspires positive, healthy choices. For more information about Lee Summit Cares, visit lscares.org. This podcast is available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, or most any of your favorite podcast apps. You can also find us at icanrelate.fredcast.com. I Can Relate is a production of Fredcast. Think, speak, act.